you, Pastor. It's a delight to see all of you this morning. Every time we read the book of Job, you look at the book of Job, you'll think one or two things. And as we ponder this about why Job went through so much stuff and why are you bringing it up at Christmas, we'll tie it all together here in the next couple of weeks, but a baby changes everything. Every trouble, every problem, every woe. And Job goes through 6, and then the 7th is identified as overcoming. We're going to look at those, just throw them out to you this morning, because they're representative of all of us. But every time we look at the book of Job, we all think, wow, how did he go through all that stuff? You ever have one of those days or one of those weeks when you think like, Lord, are you going to stack anything else on me today? Anybody can identify with that? Is there going to be anything else that'll happen? Friday was one of those kind of days for me when it just wasn't working out to be the greatest day in the world. I noticed something was wrong with the truck. The left tie rod went down, caused another couple of problems. Had the shop all day. Thought we had that fixed. The shop was closed. And he said, it's all working. And we got in there, and I smelled the very same thing. I said, there's something wrong, guys. So he called the mechanic back in. It's dark. We're working on it. Well, the caliper was frozen on the left side. So the tie rod went down. The caliper went down. And I was showing him on I said, feel how hot those brake pads are. And I touched that brake pad with these 4 fingers, and all 4 fingers stuck to the brake pad. Jan was sitting in there. She had a Route 44 cup of ice. I grabbed her Route 44 cup and put my hand down in there, and the mechanic said, you okay? I said, oh, yeah, it's fine. So I got 4 imprints there this morning. And so anyway, we finally get the truck out and get that done. We get home, and I sat down, and I grabbed something just because in my recliner, the recliner will not work if you don't have food in your lap. And so I got my food, and I pulled the recliner back, took 2 chomps, and she says, what in the world are you biting down on? And it came out in 5 pieces. I said, a tooth. So this tooth over here that I had surgery on the other side this week, so I got that too. Ended that day thinking, you know what? This is not turning out to be the very best day for me. But it wasn't a Job situation, because in about 20 minutes came the ambulance. Thank God they weren't coming for me, but a neighbor went in the house, sat down, and died. And I'm thinking, every time that we go through something, it's always comparative to what others are going through, is it not? That's why we read the book of Job. Job is the oldest book in the Bible. Many feel that it's somewhere around Genesis 12, the life and times of Abraham. The writings are so old there. But Eliphaz the Temanite is one of the 3 friends. Now, if you're on Wednesday night, we talked about the 3 friends of trouble. Eliphaz was the first one. They see him, and they see Job, what all he's gone through, and he's mastered all of it. In fact, it says in chapter 2, in all of this, Job sinned not, and he retained his integrity. By the end of chapter 2, though, when his physical health was crashed, he had no health left, he is sitting there, and they see him, and they watched him, didn't say a word, for 7 days and nights that he was on the ground. 7 days and nights on the ground. They're just watching. When his health broke, he broke as well. And your body is connected to those feelings and emotions. And every time we get sick, what happens? Our attitudes begin to change about things. Our life, everything about everything begins to change. Why? Because we're sick. And sometimes we'll even preface it. Don't pay a lot of attention to me. I don't feel good today. I'm a little snippy today. But we look at Job based on what he went through, always using that as the rain gauge of, will I have to go through that much stuff? And can I go through that much stuff? What about when my health is completely broken? How can a baby change everything? The 6 troubles of Job that we're going to look at, basically just identify them for you, are found in Job chapter 6. Now, Eliphaz gives some great information. In fact, as we look at, he says, Job, if I were you, this is what I would do. Now, that's the first idea of a guy coming to you who hasn't been where you are. If I were you, this is what I would do. I talked to an old preacher in Nepal once who had just been released from prison. And I remarked to him, in fact, he had just been released from prison the week that we were there. And we were in a banquet that I was about to speak at, and he was an honored guest, prison for 5 years. I sat right beside him. Anyway, this young man, he's up, he's speaking, and I said to him through a translation, this young man's very sharp. And he kind of goes like this. I said, what does that mean? He said to the translator, he ain't even been to prison yet. That's the litmus test over there. It's not what seminary you went to, it's which prison you got out of. So let's look at these wonderful ideas from Eliphaz. He said, hey, Job, if I were you, verse 8, but for me, I would seek God, Job, and to God I would commit my cause. Who does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number? He gives rain on the earth. He sends water to the fields. He sets high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates the devices of the crafty, which, by the way, that's the only verse taken from the book of Job in the New Testament. Paul, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, somewhere in there, Paul quotes Job, only time quoted. He frustrates the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot carry out their plans. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the cunning comes quickly upon them. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope at noontime as the night. But he saves the needy from the sword and the mouth of the mighty and from the hand. And so the poor have hope, and injustice shuts her mouth. Verse 17, behold, happy is the man whom God corrects. Eliphaz is on a track to say to Job, look, Job, you need to be thanking God for all this mess you're in. Again, that's very easy for everyone else to do. It's easy to thank God when you don't have to thank God. It's difficult to thank God when you are going through the process that Job is going through. Now let's get to verse 18. For he bruises and he binds up. He wounds, but his hands make whole. Is that not true? It's true. Everything that you are going through, everything that your family is going through, everything that's going to be a trouble tomorrow. And you have to get this squared up in your head as a believer now, because it throws us. I mean, it throws us. Everything that happens to you has to come first through the hand of the Father. You see, I'll tell you why you're not clapping right there. Because that is a deep reality that God will allow you. Eliphaz is right on target with this. Yeah, he's going to allow you to go through, but he's going to build you up. You're going to go down, but he's going to build you up. Everything is for his glory and for his purpose, and that's why it's so hard to thank God. Back in Arkansas high school rodeo days 50 years ago, I had this friend who wanted to ride bulls, but he liked to ride them in the chute. And I was pulling the rigging for him on this. I think we were in Harrison, Arkansas high school road, and I pulled. No, again. Okay, do it. And you stand up, then you pull again. No, again. Guy comes over there and he said, I love what he said. He said, son, sooner or later, we're going to have to open this chute. That you can get ready all you want. And a cowboy ain't ready till he pulls that hat down, right? And then like that. Sooner or later, you're going to have to open the chute and see what happens. For every believer, sooner or later, the chute opens and you're in the life, the reality of things you did not understand or did not know. And then you have to come to a Job position where it took him 7 days and nights sitting on the ground saying, this has come through the hand of God. Now, I know that this is right. I know what Eliphaz is saying is scriptural. You do too. But flip over to chapter 42 real quick, because I want to tell you what he said wrong. Job, the book ends with God speaking. Verse 7, Job 42:7. And so it was after the Lord had spoken the words to Job, which you need to go home and read that today. Look at what God has to say about Job. We won't do it now. That the Lord said to Eliphaz. Now that's the first friend of trouble, Eliphaz. He's the one, hey Job, if I were you, I'll tell you what I'd do. Now I'd just get alone with God. I'd thank him for all this big time, all the bad time. The Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is aroused against you and your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right. Whoa. Was his theology wrong, or was he wrong about God? Because the things that he said seem right. You know what was wrong? He thought he had God figured out. He thought, none of these bad things happen to you. Now, please listen. No bad things can happen to you unless you're sinning. Bad things happen to you because you're sinning. That is a prevalent thought in Christianity today. The reason you're going through this is that you're sinning. The entirety of Job is to remind us that God holds up the righteous even though you're going through it, and it's not always because you have sinned. What you have spoken of is not right. It's so easy to look at another person. You can just put someone in your mind right now that you've said, oh, you've done wrong here. You should have done it. You should have done it. And it's so easy to point this finger and say. And that's why it's hard to be a Christian. It's just hard. You're supposed to love people, not hate them. You're supposed to accept them, not reject them. And that's why modern Christianity has such a hard time explaining why we're for capital punishment. Or why we would say to a gay couple, while we will love you, we will hate this sin, and this sin is not allowed. Because it sounds almost deceptive in nature. But it's not. The reality is we speak these words of truth in people's lives. Whether they're sinning, whether they're not sinning, it's not up for us. But what is up for us is to understand and take the message of why we go through what we go through. There are people who don't sit in churches anymore because they don't like God anymore. They're angry. They're angry at God for their life. Why would God allow my husband to die? Why would God allow my child to die? Why would God allow this? Why would God allow that? If there is a true loving God, why would this happen to me? Now, we're going to look at the 6 troubles of man. We're going to find ourselves in them, but it's also representative as a nation. Go back with me to verse 19. He shall deliver you in 6 troubles. So I'm thinking, oh, what are the 6 troubles? Well, he identifies them. He will deliver you in 6 troubles. Yes, in 7, no evil shall touch you. This is Eliphaz the Temanite reminding Job of why he's sitting on the ground, why he has attended 10 funerals of his children, why he no longer has 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels or whatever it was. He shall deliver you in 6 troubles. Yes, in the 7th, no evil shall touch you. Verse 20, in famine he will redeem you from death, in war from the power of the sword. You shall be hidden from the scourge of the tongue, and you shall not be afraid of the destruction when it comes. You shall laugh at destruction and famine, and you shall not be afraid of the beasts of the field. For you shall have a covenant with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. You shall know that your tent is in peace. You shall visit your dwelling and find nothing amiss. You shall also know that your descendants shall be many, your offspring like the offspring of the grass of the earth. You shall come to the grave with a full age, as a sheaf of grain ripens its season. Behold, that we have searched this out. Now, boom. Those are the 7 descriptions of trouble in this man's life. Eliphaz, in this way, is a prophet. He is lining out exactly. Problem number 1, famine. Verse 20, in famine. What is famine? A famine is a breakdown of all the systems. America is in trouble number 1 right now. We are in a famine. You say, Brother Bob, we've got everything in the world. Yeah, but the famine is the breakdown of all systems. We're down even to the breakdown of why we can't get the trucks to the stores. We're in a breakdown of why we can't get the ships unloaded at the dock. We're in a breakdown of attempting to get people to work. McDonald's has a $500 bonus right now. If you'll walk in and go to work, they will hand you a $500 bill just for showing up. Everybody is looking. There is a famine, a literal breakdown of all of our system. This is part of the judgment of God, and it's part of the trouble of man. I wish it were not so, because I love convenience, don't you? I love everything to be convenient. I walked into a Casey's the other day, and there's a sign there. It said, due to COVID-19, we have no lids for our cups. Due to COVID-19. I called the doctor's office because they had told me to call them. And they said, due to COVID, we will not be answering the phone. They just told me to call them. Due to COVID, we will not be answering the phone during this time. I walked into another quick stop, was going to get a drink. And on 5 of the 6 pushing things for drinks, out. And the last one, it said out due to COVID. We need just to hang a sign on ourselves. I am not cooperating due to COVID. I am grumpy because of COVID. I'm a jerk today due to COVID. You see, we're in a breakdown, a total breakdown. There's a famine in this land. There's something wrong when a farmer, a rancher, tries to take a beef to town. He's going to get $122 for 100 pounds. And yet when you get to the store, a ribeye is $17.50 a piece. Something wrong. There's a breakdown in the system. No one trusts any. That's what a famine is. And Eliphaz says, Job, trouble number one with mankind is when we reach famine, a breakdown of the system. And we are in a total breakdown. Number two, the trouble is war. He says in verse 20, and in war from the power of the sword. Now, Job, you're going through this. Yeah, the system is broken down. You no longer have a ranch. You no longer have a farm. You no longer have children. And there is a famine. But war is the second trouble of man. That is when the last resort comes of good and evil. This morning you'll find more than 100,000 soldiers, Russian, butted up against the Ukraine border. Sabers are rattling again. Why? Because they sense that there's a famine. And during famine is when greedy, ungodly leaders find opportunity. Famine leads to opportunity. So war is the last result of good versus evil. When the Bible ends in Revelation 21 and 22, what happens? It's war. All-out war between good and evil. In the state of Wisconsin, I'm sure you followed all of that, what happened, what didn't happen, and all of that. But when you come down to it, we're in a war now today. This is a culture war. It's a culture war of what's right and what's wrong. And that's the last resort of an attempt to find out or to fight for what is right or to fight for what is wrong. We are in a war today. And the problem with this war is we're not really sure who we're swinging at. We're fighting all the wrong people. We're angry. Believers are angry today. We're angry about everything. The guy cut us off today in traffic. I don't know what I did to displease him up by Harrison coming over to Heber, but he waved at me with his finger. No need. Why are you so angry? We're angry. We're mad at everyone. And that's why when you see the breakdown of a system, understand that war is going to follow. Now, this country is going to experience that. We are in a cultural war. There's nothing new that Job went through that we are not seeing today. The very same thing. So, Job 1 is famine. The breakdown of your system. The breakdown of everything that you thought was secure. Everything that you thought you had, you no longer have. Which produces war, which is the ultimate last resort of good versus evil. Trouble number 3 of mankind is criticism. And you shall be hidden from the scourge of the tongue. We are the most critical society I think that has ever lived. And I am telling you, if you think that Facebook and Twitter are the places for you to vent your anger, please stop. You do not help your testimony when you vent your anger on Facebook. Now, if there is a reality, a truth that is representative for all of us that needs to be shared, that's one thing. But to fight on Facebook is a ridiculous way. And Job is not worried. He's sitting on the ground 7 days, 10 funerals, loss of all the sheep and the cows and the goats. All of this is processing. There's an interesting backstory to that. The only thing he didn't lose was his wife. No, don't make more of that. I'm trying to go to the next point. Don't make more of that than what? That's true, though, I guess, with Job. He's sitting on the ground. He's not worried about what people are thinking. Don't identify yourself, but how much time do you spend worrying about what people are thinking about what you're going through? You know, what are they thinking about my actions, reactions? See, the best thing you can do is to keep your actions and your reactions to a point that nobody really can figure that out. It's pretty good to have a poker face. But the thing is, you shall be sheltered from the tongue. Now, why did God put that in as one of troubles? Because we spend a lot of our time worried about what other people think. And sometimes we should be worried about what people think, particularly if we're doing the wrong thing. I used to have a friend, he's died now, going to be with the Lord, a great preacher. But he used to almost start out every sermon by saying, I don't give a rip what you think. You know what the truth and the reality of that was? He really did. He really did, to the point that he put this wall to say, see, I've said it. I won't care what you think. And if amens weren't coming, now he would have loved to come to Cowboy Church because y'all, amen, everything. But if amens weren't coming, he would stop and say, hello? Hello? He needed affirmation that what he's saying was good. Now, the tongue, he said, you're going to be sheltered. I don't need that today. Yeah, but you're going to need it pretty soon. Because people are saying, what did he do that God took all of his children? What did he do that he lost that beautiful ranch house? What did he do to lose all of his farm? Well, he must have really sinned because the 3 friends of trouble already said, Job, you need to understand that this has happened to you because of what you've done. You are sheltered from the tongue of criticism. It does not matter what you have been through. And there are people who want to call up your past. Do you understand that the process of redemption says that you no longer are in that past? That you have moved your address? You no longer live there? All of that stuff, the attitudes, the bad mouth, the addictions, whatever it was, you no longer live there. That's one of the reasons we need to meet every week. And that's why Paul said to the Thessalonians, hey, this is a big purpose. We meet together and say, whoo, thank God. You must have been a holy terror, Ron. Cecil, you must have been one bad dude. Thank God I'm not where I was. I am in the house of the redeemed. I belong here. I live here. Don't call up the old past. Anybody that sees me that has not seen me in years and says, Bobby, I know it's not going to be good. Because they still know me way back there. They don't know me way up here. Now, we're here as the body of the redeemed, sheltered from the tongue. You say, I just can't see that to be all that powerful. Oh, it's going to play out very mightily in the life of Job to be sheltered. And let's be honest. Let's be honest now. We worry more about what others are thinking and saying. And one of the addictions, and Pastor Jimmy talked about the guys at the other side, and it is hard. Every part of that is hard. Because addiction is hard. Addiction is giving up all of your entire life for one thing. The reverse of that is giving up everything for one thing. Now, it's hard, and you're seeing the reality played out of a consequence, but I swear, there's no need of piling on someone who's trying to move that address from bad, addictive, sad, brutal, over to this person. They need help. The church is called alongside to help them, to bring them up, and to nurture them. All right, so got famine, breakdown of the system. We got war culturally. We have a criticism, losing our soul. America, I think, has lost its soul when we can see what reality is, when we see truth, and yet we won't say it is truth. I heard a newscaster talk about the guy who went through the parade. They would not call it an act of terror. They're still calling it an accident by which all these people have died. They had a man that lives in that town that was there at the parade, and he said, let me tell you, he went around 4 street barricades to get where he was going. And yet the media, because of a narrative in their mind that they want to project, no, that's not, this was a sad accident. It's causing believers, again, to get angry all the time. But the only thing we do is bust TV screens because we cannot change the reality of these people. We're in a war with them. So there's famine, there's war, there's criticism. Verse 21. You shall be hidden from the scourge of the tongue, and you shall not be afraid of the destruction. You shall laugh at destruction and famine. Fear are the way of life. Verse 21. Way of life. It's going to change. You're going to laugh. You're going to laugh at this destruction. You remember what I said? Job's sitting on the ground. He's not thinking about tomorrow. He's still trying to survive today. Every part about you changes when your body goes down. When I touched all 4 fingers to that brake pad, all 4 fingers stuck and I pulled them off, everything about my life where I was supposed to be 45 minutes from right then and supposed to make this and do that, didn't care about any of it. All I was looking for was a Route 44 cup of ice. It changes all perspective. He's on the ground. He's not worried about a way of life. His way of life is about to change. And when he says in In verse 20 and 21, in famine you shall be redeemed, in war the power of the sword, you'll be hidden from the scourge, and you shall not be afraid of destruction when it comes. You're going to laugh at this. Way of life is going to change. That's one of the troubles that we have. Way of life changes. Hey, did you know getting older, your way of life changes? Anybody realize that? See, I didn't have time. I think I texted that to Brother Benny the other day. Getting old, it kind of creeps up on you. You don't even get a chance to practice. I was driving yesterday, and a lady had a left turn signal on. I think she got up in the morning, got in the car, turned the left turn signal on, left it all day. People do that when they get old. Way of life changes. Don't have time to practice. It's just, and things hit you differently every day. Oh, what was that? What's wrong? I don't know, just something new. What happened? And things all of a sudden grow differently, and things come up differently. Hair grows from nowhere. What was that? Way of life, it changes. Job, hey, we're trying to tell you, that's one of the troubles. Don't tell me right now. I'm right here. I don't need to know that now, but it's coming. The next thing, the trouble is fear. You will not be afraid. He says it 3 times. You will not be afraid. You will not be afraid. You will not be afraid. But the thing about it is in verse 22, and you shall laugh at this destruction and famine, the past sorrows and troubles. You shall not be afraid of the beasts of the field. You know what that means? Of what you can't see. What you can't see. What you can't see. Fear of what you can't see. Now, I am telling you, we need to live in a time of preparedness. I don't mean hoarding, but I do mean strategic planning. Why? Because we're in a breakdown. We're in a famine. Systems are breaking down. You can see it everywhere. I mean, at the end of October, they said, get your Christmas presents now. Why? Because there's a breakdown of the system, and they know it's coming. It's way out there in advance. I find it interesting in this breakdown of all systems. The trust of our government is going down, 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 because it's just always so convenient that the very week that the CDC and the National Institute of Health say there's a rise of children getting this new Omicron, we must act now. Yeah, that rise is 0.1. And that's what's got the whole nation. So we need the vaccine now. I'm not making light of the vaccines. What I'm making light of is a world system that has betrayed us for a world system. You're no longer a player. You're no longer even mentioned. Don't really care. Being afraid of what you can't see. He says the beasts of the field, because there were still beasts in the field at that time. It's only been 3 or 4 times in my life where I had to really be worried about the beasts of the field. If you're hunting in Wyoming, 10,000 feet, Colorado, Montana, Alaska, you got to watch for bears. I sat down one time. My son and I had reached a peak, tied the mules and horses off. I climbed another 800-900 feet, found this little spot, got in there and sat down. I said, boy, this is it. Elk trails everywhere, and I get my call over there, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, just out of this black blur, I got my phone out and texted. I said, Sean, I'm not sure, but I think a bear just ran right over me. He said, babe, pay closer attention. It may be. I waited about 2 minutes, and the same bear came right back so fast. There was no time to worry about shooting or anything else or responding. I'd already yielded, and I had my hands up like this, like, I give. He ran past me so fast, I had no idea. Now, the rest of that week, you can imagine my eyes where they are. I think that's a bear. There was bears everywhere now. Oh, there's a bear. A tree stump's a bear. There's only been a few times. I was at a tiger refuge in northern India, staying in a Muslim group home, and they locked us in this compound there was a lot of persecution of believers, and they didn't want us in trouble, so they locked us in there. And so, anyway, you could hear at the end of this compound, there was a tiger reserve, and you could hear it. And when you're laying in bed and you hear those sounds, it's like, whoa, that is freaky. There's only been a few times I've actually been scared of what I can't see. But when you're in snake country and they warn you, then everything you look at is like. This is what that trouble is with man. We're afraid. We fear. We fear what we cannot see. We are guided through the entire of the New Testament to what? Walk by faith, not by sight. Walk by faith, not by sight. Have you all ever noticed how hard that really is? It's hard to walk by faith. Why? Because I can't see it. I can't see where we're going. Do you ever wonder as a family, where are we going? I can't see. It's all foggy like out here. This is the only town where we live. Downtown it was raining. When I got to the top of the hill, it was sun shining. And now it's turned into dense fog. I mean, it just changes by the moment. But I can't see. Our family can't see right now. Things are messed up. We got to walk by faith. We have to walk by faith. Walk by faith. Because this is one of the troubles that Job's about to face that he doesn't even know that he has to look at right now. Fear. Number 6. Verse 24, and you shall know that your tent is in peace. Why is that important? Because Job doesn't have a house anymore. He has a tent. You shall visit your dwelling and find nothing amiss. One of the troubles that we have today is peace in the home. Peace in the family. Peace. He said you're going to go home to the tent and find that nothing is amiss. That's one of the troubles. That's what you're worried about family. You're worried about future. You're worried about boys and girls. You're worried about what they're being taught, how they're being, brain is being worked upon by this CRT, critical race theory, teaching children to be racist, teaching other children that because you are a white or Caucasian that you somehow are worse than anyone else. It's hard. It works on the mind. And our government is convinced that this is where we must go. We must take people. The Salvation Army this past week changed their website. They were instructing all of their officers, and they run like an army, the officers, enlisted people, and volunteers to go through critical race theory. Now, this is a Christian organization with more than 120 some odd years of existence that has done good all over the world. You know the only reason they did that? The United Nations demanded that if they were going to work in the countries that United Nations holds a sway over, that they would have to take sensitivity training. Listen to me. Going through the gospel, being a member of a local New Testament church is the sensitivity training that you need. We recognize and realize that red and yellow, black and white, they are all precious in His sight. We recognize that God has created all the different races, and we hold no grudge because they are a different race. We hold no faction. We hold no faction. Quit clapping, I'm on a roll. We hold no faction of identifying ourselves as being better than anyone else in this world. And if you do, you need to get right with God. You're no better than anybody else. No worse either. I will not apologize because I'm a white person, any more than I should ask a black person to apologize for being black. This is how ridiculous the trouble of man has become. Peace at home is a trouble. Peace at home is a trouble. Now, identifying that Job is saying, I don't have a home. I don't have children. I don't have anything that makes a home anymore. But Eliphaz says you'll be able to go to your tent at night and be at peace. You know, a proverb that identifies that as well, it says, I would rather live in the corner of a little bitty room than in a palace with a brawling woman or a brawling man. It can be both ways. With the person who will not cooperate. See, that's a big problem today. What all you're going through is not allowing peace to come into the home. And what good would we be as a church today if we say amen in a moment, we shake hands with everybody we can and give them a high five and get out there and be a true believer this week? If I just keep reminding you how sorry you are and how sinful you are and how bad you've done last week and you haven't given enough, you haven't worked enough, you haven't tried enough, and so you go out of here with this. Well, thanks, man, I enjoyed being here again today, that's for sure. This is really helpful. But the great reminder that we are all under this same Job problem. We all have the same stuff going on. And only a baby makes the difference. Only the baby makes the difference. It's Jesus Christ. Job does not even know about Jesus. And yet, He's coming, Job. He's coming. Now, these words of trouble are for Job, and they're for the Israeli nation, and they're for our nation today. Number 7, verse 26. You shall come to the grave at a full age. Again, a prophetical voice. Job, God's not done with you. You're going to come to the grave at a full age. Trouble number 7 is life. You will overcome it, regardless of how old you are. You're going to overcome this. I don't care what it is today. You're going to overcome it. I'm praying for a man back in Alma. His wife will hear this next week. He's gone through everything. Ventilator, put in the trach, swallow test, can't pass it, go back to the trach. Same thing my sister did 6 weeks ago. Couldn't pass, couldn't do it. I mean, he's hanging in the balance of life and death, life and death. He's going to overcome it one of two ways. Lord's going to take him where he'll no longer have any need of oxygen, or he's going to rise up from that bed and he's going to walk again. But you can pull out Coach's name and put yours right in there. You're going to overcome. You're going to overcome. It's just like smashing your finger in the car door and adjectives come up that you haven't thought of in a long time. I don't care how sanctified you are, Miss Linda, adjectives come up in the mind. And if you're like me, they get a little further than the mind. But I always look around to see first. Boy, when life slams a car door on your finger, you're going to overcome it. You're going to overcome it. He says, Job, you're going to be able to go to your tent and find peace. You don't have a house anymore, but you'll find peace there. You're going to walk in and find the family with no issues. Job looks at them. I don't have a family. Read the rest of the book. God restores and gives him. But I said, well, wait. What about the 10 that he lost? I understand that. And that's the sting of death and the sting that we carry with us when we lose that loved one. Job, you're going to go through 6 troubles, and the 7th one will be the revival, overcoming life. I don't know what you're going through today, but I can tell you a baby changes everything. We celebrate all of our songs today, celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. And a lot of churches are getting away from that, finding it hokey, finding it a little too much. And should we talk about incarnation after all? Listen, let me tell you. I go through my mind the incarnation of Jesus Christ coming to this earth. Isaiah 9 records it so beautifully. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. He's not here yet, and it's another 750 years before he gets here, but he's coming. Jesus Christ has come in the flesh. And because of that, we sing the songs today. If that gets too hokey for the world, hokey out. We don't care. We know that he came on this earth. We know it took the wise men. They weren't all that wise. It took them another year to figure out where he was. But they found him and worshiped him in the house. Are you worshiping Jesus in the house? Doesn't matter when he came to you. Are you worshiping Jesus in the house? Here's the whole concept, though, about this church and any other local New Testament church. If you've been in the house and received Jesus Christ 1 week, you're just as in the house as those of us who've been saved 50 years, just in the house. There is no pecking order. We're all in the house. Let's stand together. Our heads are bowed, our eyes are closed. The 6 troubles of man. Getting knocked down is a given. Getting up is a choice. Getting knocked down is a given. You're going to get knocked down, but getting up is a choice. I do not know what bad news may come your way today or my way today. But I do know if there is trouble, we're going to have to do like Job, sit down on the ground and parse this thing all out. Job didn't lose it till he lost his health. Then he said these words in chapter 2, the thing which I feared, the thing which I feared the most has come upon me. You know what he was afraid of the most? Losing his physical health. The thing I feared the most has come upon me this day. Our heads are bowed, our eyes are closed. You in trouble? It's an altar time. It's time to say, Father, there's troubles in our life. There's troubles in our country. There's troubles in our home. There's troubles in America. There's troubles, Lord. We're breaking down. Our systems are breaking down. Lord, please let me hold on to you in trouble. This may be a day you just need to come to the altar and say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for the trouble. I understand it, but I pray that you'll give me strength for the troubles that are in front of me this day. This is the day you need to be saved. This is the day you need to be baptized. And come up and say to one of these preachers, Lord, this is the day I gotta change my life. Holy Spirit's talking to me. I need to be baptized. I need to get saved. I need to join this church. All of those decisions. But my family needs to get stronger. Where is it going to start? Starts with the man. Starts with the husband. It begins where God has initiated leadership. Starts there. For we're in a country, men, by which we got to man up now and guard our families like never before. You need to come to this altar. You come.